Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for a very special review of the new series, Miss Marvel, coming to Disney Plus June 8th. Now, the first two episodes are going to be releasing on the same date. It's a mini-series, so there's only 6 episodes, sort of like a normal thing now with these Disney Plus Marvel series and whatnot. So it's only 6 episodes. So after the first 2 episodes drop on June 8th, a new episode is going to drop each week. But as I said, it's very special because I am joined. I'm so excited for this, and I cannot wait to get into this review. I am joined by a writer, an actress, a comedian, an activist, and more importantly, a friend who I felt there's no way I watched this series without her. And we linked up schedules, and here we are to go provide you what I feel is going to be the best review of this series available. So tell your friends right now to come check this out if you're watching, because it absolutely will be on the money. Take my word. Kausar Mohammed. Kausar, how's it going?
Hello. I am just so excited to be here. I'm excited that we're chatting about this. Like as I was watching, I was like, oh, can't wait to hear what he thinks. I'm excited to bring the perspectives together and break it down. And this is so special. This is such a special, I think, moment for the culture. I'm Pakistani. I'm Muslim. You know, looked up to Miss Marvel. So here we are. So it's a pleasure joining you, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember when this was announced, and sort of the feel of when this was announced, because this was in a slate of other different films films and series that where you kind of look at Disney's release dates, and you said, okay, they're obviously trying to hit different demographics, and they're trying to bring together better representation within them. We've seen this with like the likes of Shang-Chi, and even before that with Black Panther. So when I saw this one, I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. One, this has always been a character I've been always very fond of in the comics. So bringing this to life, I was like, yes. Miss Marvel was the main feature in the Avengers video game. So I was like, okay, another good sign here. But there's always a little bit of reserve when something comes to the big screen or even to live action, whether it's on TV or whether it's in the theaters. So I was very excited, but also a little bit sweaty palms. And I was just like, oh my God. But that brings us right to our first question here. Now that we've seen the first 2 episodes, your instant thought reaction to it.
I'm so excited for the journey. I think that's my reaction. Like, I'm here for the journey, you know? And yeah, I could say more, but I want to, your instant thought reaction. If it was like if you had to just put it out there, what would it be? Quotes.
Okay. First thing for me easily was this, like, okay, I do not feel that a couple of the previous Marvel series have been good. I wasn't too big on Moon Knight. I wasn't too big on Hawkeye. So after I watched it, I was like, yes, they finally back on track with me. And the biggest thing for me is that this felt more of a Disney property than it felt of a Marvel, a Disney pure property than a Marvel, obviously in Disney, but a Marvel property. This felt a lot of something I would have watched growing up. It was very family friendly, very lighthearted. And just the cinematography was definitely hitting a lot of the old school tropes, like the camera flipping on the bed. Like, it's one of my favorite shots growing up. And then just the colors, everything, just gorgeous. The visuals were just so wow. Just everywhere you look, you're just like, wow, I love the art style of this. So I was instantly impressed. Before I even thought about like the comic book accuracy and any of that, I was just like, this looks good. This is on the money. So definitely impressed. And I have to say one other thing too, that I was very impressed by Amon's performance.
So impressed.
Amazing energy. Caught me right away. I was like, okay, you're the star, you're the lead, and my eyes were set on her the entire time. So I thought she did a fantastic job. So I was impressed off the first 2 episodes.
I will echo that, like the colors, like the neons, and you see like the blues and the pinks, and then this thing of like the moving illustrations being sort of a thing you see throughout is just absolutely fun and gorgeous. And I actually really like what you said about it. You know, you feel the Disney a little bit, and but I think it's so like, you know, it took a second to be like, oh, this is what I'm watching. It's not the normal Marvel that I'm used to, but it's really good. And in that way, I think it allows to like be on the journey. And Iman is phenomenal. Like, isn't this her debut? Like her acting debut? And the girl,
I don't know if I've seen it anywhere, but she was definitely excellent if it was. But yeah,
such a natural. And like also representation wise, like she is Pakistani, she is Muslim, and to be able to see that on screen, and she's such a beautiful, like from the acting perspective, just like a great emoter, great actor, and can do the funny and the drama. So this is going to be the start of a very bright career for her, and that's really exciting.
I echo that as well too. I'm actually not sure if this is her debut, but if it is, I mean, fantastic. And I think that stars written all over her, and I do actually echo the same things as saying like the emotes, whatever her emotional journey was, you were right there with her. You knew when she was happy, you knew when she was excited, especially in episode 2. You can just feel that pure energy, which is like, as much as this is about a superhero and or a young lady who's obsessed with another superhero, it almost feels like she was just magical just being her. Like just her, whatever she did every day just felt very, very special. So I have to, you know, tip my hat to the casting here for her. But that brings me to my next question. Overall, you talk about the representation. How do you feel about the entire cast? There is some names on this too. A couple of my favorites are in this.
On it. And you know, I'm biased. Both Sagar, who plays the brother, and Trevina, who plays Taisha, are good friends of mine. And so, but I think in that sense too, right? It's like you see these people and you see them in roles where I'm like, this role was made for them. But what's beautiful about it is because you're finally seeing a project that creates roles that feel authentic and feel real. And overall, like, the casting was just so on point. Like, the mom is hilarious. The parents are hilarious. Mr. Wilson also... Mr. Wilson had me laughing out loud like multiple times. Like, I think he's one of my favorite characters as well. And I think just seeing it overall was so lovely. And also in terms of like, you get to see representation of Muslims in a different way, right? So you get to see the Black Muslim perspective, which we don't get to see enough through Taisha's character. You get to see more Middle Eastern character through Nakia's character. I'm guessing she's Middle Eastern, but maybe we'll learn more. I'm very sorry if I'm incorrect. But you get to see all those things, and it's beautiful. And what was it like for you seeing it?
So I have to say that I checked out a fantastic film. I believe it was either Tribeca last year, in Indian Sweet and Spices, and I knew for a fact that I needed more. And when you talk about representation, speaking to some of the cast and how important, how special this was, it made me really connected and really invested for more and more projects. Seeing this, beyond the characters, I felt a sense of just family. I could imagine from behind the scenes, there had to be so many special moments amongst this cast. The just seeing how folks were looking at one another, just the sense of just pure happiness. I honestly fear for the scenes where they actually have to either be scared. I mean, we got a little glimpse of it in episode 2, but it still felt very lighthearted because it just seems like, much like we heard in this, like it was a celebration. And when the mom said that in one scene, I resonated with that over the first 2 episodes. I said like, no, like not just this scene, this entire series right now feels like a celebration. Regardless of if you like the plot, regardless if you like the character, you can tell that this cast was extremely proudful of their work in this and the camaraderie amongst everybody. It absolutely felt like a celebration. So I was just, my heart was just connected with it. I was just like, I'm happy for everybody for this opportunity.
Yeah, 100% agreed. And just seeing all those faces on screen, like that's never been done. Even like the way you hear them say the prayer on screen, or talk, like see them, you know, the mosque when they were washing it, when they were washing their faces and stuff before they went in, like the wudu, like those real things we don't see on our
Yeah.
screen. So it's huge that it's there.
Yes. And I also love that I was able to pick up on a few of the Easter eggs and the references made here, like the Sweatshop Boys. I was like, oh
Yes,
Sweatshop. My man Riz Ahmad Group, Sound of Metal, fantastic film, by the way. But I was like, oh, nice. I love like how this felt. It felt like, again, it felt very prideful. But that does now bring to me what I feel may be my most important question to you. Beyond the authenticity, do you feel like any of this was ever forced, or did you feel like it was organic? Did you ever come to a time where you said like this feels a little bit like it's pandering? How did you feel about in terms of how things were being translated?
That's a good question. I do feel like what I didn't feel was that I don't feel like it was made for like through the gaze of like trying to be like through a white gaze, which is normally, you know, just normally what we see and what we exist in. It's the systems we live in where things are normally seen through a white gaze. But I feel like this was kind of had that For Us By Us vibe, you know, where it was like, we're gonna make the inside jokes and they're gonna land regardless of who the audience is. Like, for example, like the tampon bit, like that is such like a every Muslim woman's gonna be like, oh yeah, my mom's not cool with that. You know, like certain things that just landed, and you hear the mom speak in Urdu mixed in, you know, you kind of hear that. I wish there was an Urdu English version of Spanglish, but that's the version of that, you know? So I feel like it had that For Us By Us vibe. I think what did take me a second was to relinquish the series a little bit. That took me a second. And to be like, oh, this is something different. And it's beautiful. But it did take me a moment to just be like, oh, this is, you know, like it took me a moment to understand that. But I think by episode 2, I'm in it, you know, like I'm here for it. Yeah, what about you?
That is awesome. I wasn't sure. So again, some of the delivery of what I, you know, some of the references, some of the Easter eggs and whatnot that was in there, they felt natural at times, but it's really hard to tell unless you are, you know, within this community day in and day out. It you know, the one way I can kind of translate this into, like, you know, if anybody who's ever in the Washington DC, the DMV area, there's a certain lingo in this, and like when I hear like new rappers come out, they tried to make sure they can represent that they're from DC by every bit of lingo that we have and putting it in one bar. It's like, well, nobody actually talks like that. Like I get what you're doing, but like no one actually talks about like that, you know. You may get one every 3 sentences, but like, you know, and it was just like boom, boom, boom. So for me, I was like, okay, while you know, for me, it did not feel forced, but I can't really be the one to judge that. So. But yeah, again, it didn't feel like a big build up punchline type of thing. It felt like really normal dialogue. So that's you know, kind of my looking through my lens in that. So that's good. That's good that in your response that it wasn't, because that was like my biggest thing. I was like, oh my god, like I hope they're just not like going down the whole pandering lane. I'm saying like, we're gonna get representation, but therefore we got to pour like all in to make sure we hit every box, you know, like all the things, you know. So that's good. Now let's a little bit, just in case anybody is very unfamiliar with Miss Marvel. There's a lot of kind of backstory with this character. Now we all know that Miss Marvel is obsessed with Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel. And you know, she eventually gets the name. And in the comics too, Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel was at once called Miss Marvel, then there was a Marvel, and then because of how Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel was represented at a time, then they disbanded the name and gave her Captain Marvel to give her, you know, to take away all of like the sexism behind how she originally was created to be, which then left the void of Miss Marvel existing there, which ended up becoming Kamala Khan, who was, as you said, Marvel's first Muslim character who had her first comic book. And she, you know, like I said, grew up in New Jersey. I was born in New Jersey, FYI. and she is a Muslim Pakistani-American. The thing about this with her character is that, much like any kid, but especially a Muslim Pakistani American, is trying to figure out her way, trying to navigate a life of where she fit in and so on. Being young at 16 and as a woman is already one thing, but this was just another layer to just what her upbringing was about. Very prideful for sure. But and we know the landscape of America. This was not ever going to just be a easy walk in the park or something that was just easily accepted. Beyond that, too, while navigating the streets of New Jersey, in the comics, she had gained her power because Thanos came to Earth for some Inhumans. He fought Black Bolt of the Inhumans. Black Bolt just recently had his on-screen debut being killed by Scarlet Witch in Multiverse of Madness. And in this fight, a Terrigen bomb went off, thus going off over the city. She ended up being exposed to it, and thus she gained her power. Her gaining her power, she gained the power to polymorph, which is very, very similar to John Krasinski's character in Mr. Fantastic, who also was killed by Wanda in Multiverse of Madness, who has the ability to stretch in all sorts. So, if you played the game, if you read the comments, you easily recognize this character with the giant fists and stretchy and all that. And this, totally different. First of all, I have got to be 1,000% honest. I don't know if I have ever called a bracelet a bangle, ever.
No, that's a Desi thing. It's like a South Asian thing. It's
okay.
Like, put your bangles on. It's like I guess that's so funny because I didn't even clock it. I was just like, oh yeah, but it's a bangle. Like, that's what we do.
Okay, great.
I got some in my room. I got the bangles. I got a bangle. This is a bangle right here.
Yeah. Her powers are attained different here. We're going to learn a lot more about it as the scene seems like we're getting to the nitty gritty of it, going into the conclusion of episode 2. We'll talk about that more in a second. But she gains her power through a bangle. And now her power isn't stretchy. Which is very important. The very importance of this is because when you talk about where is Marvel going next, it's now leaving Earth. We've had ventures in space, but now things are getting cosmic, and that's like the next big chapter. And understanding that her powers are cosmic, as it is said at the end of episode 1, tells you that this is going to be a lot bigger than what we are just accustomed to her being. I think she's going to now become a very, very pivotal part, and maybe what we're going to call the Young Avengers and whatnot. We'll see. Her attaining her power, she finds a bracelet in her attic. She tries it on. It was a part of her just trying to put together some aesthetics for her cosplay. She was going to Avengers Con. Spoiler alert, I heard they're actually working on an Avengers Con. That's going to be very popular. And she tries it on, and instantly she notices that something about it, something different. But ultimately, it activates at Avengers Con, where she's on stage as Captain Marvel, trying to win the cosplay contest. And this thing is shooting out purple cosmic energy blobs, we'll just say, because they can be all different types of shapes and forms. She's even formed the fist, which we were waiting for. But she go into episode 2. That's when she really tries to discover what's this thing all about. I have got to say this because I'm going to say this probably twice. I'm already about to sit here in fantasy book because I got an idea what's going to happen. I have a really, really interesting hunch that her bangle is going to do exactly what the 10 Rings did with Shang-Chi, where it sent off that signal to Wong, and they're going to say, oh, this artifact, there's something to this. That's where we had Bruce Banner come about, and he was like, this is old. And Carol Danvers, who also showed interest to it, which links her to that. Let's not also forget that Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, and now Kamala Khan will be in the Miss Marvel movie that is coming next year. So I have a feeling that there's going to be some type of connection with that going down the line. Like Bruce Banner said, the thermoluminescence of this is prehistoric to the 10 Rings. And I think they're going to probably approach the same thing with this bangle and say this is something we just seen recently. There's something going on here. Who knows what it is? But with the 10 rings sending a signal, I think this may be too, and I think that's where the journey goes really cosmic. So that's my fantasy book on that.
I like it.
But I'm interested. But I do like the biggest thing from the comic book side of this is that I love how this character is already appearing to going to be a big part going forward. This was not a series that they did to appease folks. This feels like a character that has had thought with it, and I think they're going to even handle it even better. And I think this speaks to like even the beginning of Miss Marvel, where they was like, hey, this character is clearly just over sexualized, and there's no regard to what she actually can do, because everybody's just looking at how she's looking, what they have her wearing and whatnot. Then when she became Captain Marvel, the respect, the command, the pride, all that came behind it. And I think that instead of making Miss Marvel just another version of Mr. Fantastic, they're actually elevating her with even more enhanced powers, on a cosmic level, which is big. So I'm excited on that.
That's very, very cool. And like I'm learning about the Marvelness. For you, were there any other Easter eggs of like, oh yeah, that's like a Marvel thing, that maybe someone like me on the outside I wouldn't pick up, in the same way that I could say that there's cultural Easter eggs. Are there Marvel Easter eggs?
I gotta think about that when we go through that. I mean, like beyond just little things in Avengers Con. I mean, they a lot of references. Two things. All right, yeah, I can name two things. So in Avenger Con, the biggest thing was that they did pay homage to Iron Man and Black Widow, who had died obviously in Endgame. Captain America's not there, and I know a lot of people were kind of questioning what's the status with him. He did get old and whatnot because he went back in time and whatnot, but he's still alive. So let's just remember that he's just off the grid. So there's no rest in peace for him. Ant-Man is making a podcast. That was funny, I thought. And then how did we forget the after the credit scene for episode 1, which so this now is a group of folks that we see in episode 2, but where have we seen them before? In Spider-Man, they are the what are they called again? I always get their name right. The where do I have it at? Oh yeah, the Department of Damage Control. So obviously they're just looking for people out here just destroying the town.
Too much liability. Too many losses.
Pulling right out of the city funds.
Yeah.
But yeah, the last time we seen them, they were interrogating Peter Parker in Spider-Man. So here they are again saying, who's messing up our city? Yeah. The interesting thing here in Easter egg is the lack of Easter egg here, because when they categorize Ms. Marvel, they didn't call her a mutant. They didn't call her an inhuman. They said it's just an enhanced individual. That right there, I'm very curious, because now that Marvel owns, Fox, so they have the rights to X-Men and Inhumans. We've already seen Black Bolt, the leader of the Inhumans, in Multiverse of Madness. I would have thought it would have been an easy reference to say, oh, she's an Inhuman. But I think now with them switching her abilities up, I think that they are going a different route, which is cool to everything I said earlier. But now it still everybody's wondering the big question: when are we getting the introduction to the X-Men? So when we get the mutants, when are we going to get the Inhumans? Like, we want to know. So it seems like not yet, because they're just not ready to pull that trigger on that name yet. So we'll see. And I think they're loading up for episode 6, the finale, for it to be something big, because they're definitely driving down, the kind of navigating in a way where they're not giving us too much just yet, but a lot to be excited for.
Yeah, very true. And I think to add to that, like the other angle of like the powers and the bangle, and I'm so keen and excited to hear this incorporation of like the grandmother, the great grandmother character, and also just like the tie-in of the partition, like that's huge. Like yes. It's huge in the South Asian culture, and we don't get to talk about it. But to somehow see that it's going to get tied into the story of the powers, like that's revolutionary to be able to talk about that. And also in a way, on a deeper level, it's kind of also addressing like intergenerational trauma, and it's doing it by looking at powers, you know, and by looking at this passage of powers. So it's like there's all these themes in it that we're able to address because of the specificity of her identity, and using it to address other issues too. So I'm so excited to see where that goes.
I have a question about that, and it just reminded me of one more minor Easter egg too. Kamala's dad also has a sort of an interesting romance with Bruce Banner, which when he is given the Hawk cosplay, it was like, okay, I see. You're stirring it up a little bit. He even builds him the nickname Smart Guy to Kamala's dad. So I thought that was really cool that they did that. But yes, you bring up the couple of questions I had when you talk about the what was it called again? Let me make sure I get that right. What was it called? The partition, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When Amir says like every family has a story, but none of them are good. What did that mean and feel to you when you heard that?
It like there were certain moments I felt emotional watching that, truly. Every South Asian family does have a partition story, you know, and this, like, my mom's from Pakistan, my dad's from Bangladesh, but it's just like everyone's got their story of how it went down and how it affected them. It also wasn't that long ago. And to be able to sort of address that, it's just like, oh shit, you know, like we're going there. And that's also what makes it feel like it's not necessarily pandering, you know. It's like, how do we, like, we're talking about the real shit, and also the way it affects us. And I think that's the beauty of it. So in those ways, like, that was a moment that had me emotional. I think when she came back in and had that, like, basically when her mom caught her on the way in, that moment had me emotional too, because I think also, like, a very, you know, South Asian thing, and maybe, you know, Asian generally, of like not letting your parents down, and like, you know, all the like paternalism that goes into that. And so it struck certain chords that I didn't expect it, you know, like they kind of come and get you, like I'm elsewhere, and then they kind of get me, and I'm like, ooh, that hit a chord with young Kausar, you know. Yeah.
That's good. I want to bring up a few things, and then to kind of give you a moment to talk about some of these moments and what did it meant to you. So, you know, we talked about the casting. Let's also mention something that can almost be quickly a throwaway, but I would assume that it either something you have experienced or somebody you know that you experienced this. But what about that coach walking down the hallway calling her name wrong?
Right, the Camila, I laughed out loud too, the Kamala Camila. But maybe you could also resonate with that too, just like the general.
Actually, yes.
You know, what's the worst? Okay, what's like the worst? Like the one where like you think about it and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe somebody called me that. Like the worst butchering.
So obviously there's one that if you drive down that alley, it's probably gonna be a bad day for you. So I gotta tell you, what's even funnier to me is when I see a teacher or somebody, and because my last name starts with a C, I'm sitting there like, okay, I know my name should be coming up soon, and then you see them like and you see their lips moving, you're just like, oh, I know who you about to call.
They don't want it. Yeah.
I know who you are to call.
It's me.
Yeah, don't worry, I got you. It's me. But I've heard names. I just heard variations of my name where they kind of like make it French and so on. So yeah, I was like, I like that. Yeah. Give me some culture on that. I'll take that. But you know, as I got older, obviously, you know, folks are much more open to asking. But when you were younger, you just, they got the axe and they're coming with the tree. It's like, yeah, I don't care. I'm just gonna say whatever. So, but yeah. I do appreciate the banter between the two of them. When the next time she's just like, listen, no more. This is what it is. I love that. The parents now. Could you talk to me about the banter between the parents? The first thing I observed was there's a lot of love in the house. I love that. And I love how and I listen. I'll get authentic on this one, and it's not to say my household, because my household was a little bit untraditional, so this was not in my household, but I know it to be true. In other households, typically when the mom and dad don't agree, it's chaos. I love the idea that they didn't agree, and it was peaceful. It was like, okay, I'd say this, yeah, say that, and it's just like, okay, well, best interest of our daughter here, and it's just dissolved. It's not no animosity coming the next day of like, oh, you disagree with me. It's just kind of like, cool. I really appreciate seeing that. So I wanted to know, what was your thoughts, kind of seeing that dynamic between the parents?
Yeah, I noticed that as well, and it seems like it must have been intentional of showing this household where the parents are in love, like in romantic love with each other, which we don't get to see. When we see South Asian parents on screen, they are normally they're arranged, or they secretly hate each other, or they have a loveless marriage, you know? So that felt intentional and beautiful to see that reflected back. So I enjoyed that and caught that. Yeah.
Yeah. Costume design.
Costume design. It was good. It was good.
Okay.
It was good. Yeah, that felt authentic as well, with the Indian outfits, and to me, I am not a Muslim woman who covers or wears a hijab, but to me, from what I know, it looked good.
Okay.
I also want to shout out Nakia's story too, about like why she chose to cover. That was beautiful to me.
Yes. I definitely want to get to that in a second.
Yeah.
Music, beyond the weekend getting money left and right, opening up, but not talk about him. But yeah, the music here. What was your thoughts?
I am in love. That was I think that's one of my favorite things of it. The soundtrack is unapologetically so many South Asian and I'm guessing Muslim artists. So like you said, Sweatshop, there was Cruella, like Cruella and Raja Kumari, down to MIA. Like, it was solely that, and it was good too. So I want to see that sort of Miss Marvel soundtrack somewhere, because I would listen to it recreationally. Yeah. What was it like for you?
So first thing for me is that, like, I was like, oh, The Weeknd, that's an interesting choice, but he's from Canada, and so is Iman. So I was like, okay, that's probably one of her favorites there. And then I was like, okay, second episode they played Mace. I was just like, okay, well, I get it. You're in Jersey, so you're trying to do that, so I get it. But for me,
he's from Jersey.
Yes, so
I didn't clock that. I was like, it felt a little random. I have to admit, I was like, it felt really random. I liked it. I'm like, hey, bring back the music, you know, but that makes sense. Yeah.
But for me, I was for the artist that I knew, I was like, oh yeah, this is dope. Something I didn't know, but I was like, okay, well, there's no way, you have some and not all. So overall, it was good. And I think I also thought the placement in the soundtrack was done really well too. Using it with the visual, the artistry, and like I said, the art style of this, I thought like how it complemented one another was really good. The scene where Kamala and Bruno on their bikes, and the wall art, and then the music, I was like, this is dope. Like this feels like, again, this is Disney at their best. I know this is MCU, but I was like, this feels like Disney right here, so I did appreciate that.
Yeah.
This was my favorite scene of the entire 2 episodes. Oh my god, this was so funny. I started to text my friend. I was like, but I gotta finish right my note. Oh my god, it's so funny. when Bruno came in the house and the mom asked him if he wanted food, and he said, no, I'm okay. He said, no, don't worry, you're taking some back, and she brought it right back. I died. I was like, I've been there. I'm like, I only am feeding myself, and you got enough to feed a whole village. I was like, man.
She's on her auntie duty. That's so. But how fast? You know how fast she went? I was like, I don't know. Does the mom have powers? Like, how'd she? Is it just like normal super mom powers? Like, just moms being moms, where they're like, here you go, I've had it ready. Or like, does she have something going on? Because that was fast.
Yeah, that was just a display of just moms are superheroes day in and day out, and they can get that meal together right away. So yeah. So the Arabic necklace, the shade towards that we kind of got from I can't think of the other character name. What was it? Nikki or Nicole, something like that. Oh, Zoe, you're right. You're right. You're right. Yeah. When she's when Kamala was like because of our vice president, she's when she was saying this is my name. Do you own a necklace with your name? And have you had anybody kind of like look at you like what in terms of that? I like I feel like that was in the series for a reason. It's not something I would ever do or ever like look at in a weird way. So I was wondering, like, has that been something you experienced or whatnot?
Yeah. You know, now that you say it, I think it might end up being a plot point somewhere. Because, yeah, I feel like people have it. That's like, you know, like you kind of like you got your name written in Arabic. It's cute, or Urdu. But the fact that they pointed it out is interesting. So maybe it's going to be something. Maybe, I don't know, maybe she'll end up leaving the necklace somewhere, or, you know, I don't know. Because it's also like a common thing, too, you know? So, yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I agree with you on that one. Now, you did bring up, you know, when they went inside the Majab. Am I saying that correctly?
The masjid?
Oh, masjid. Okay. Yeah. Again, not something I have ever seen in anything in television or film. I've never seen. So what was sort of the level of, and you talked a little bit about it early, but if you can dissect it a little bit more about you know, this place of worship, the shoes being stolen in it and whatnot, is that like a thing?
Such a thing. Like, okay, maybe not intentionally. Like, I think in the series, it was like there's clearly like a shoe thief, but it happens unintentionally all the time, you know, like, or you go in and you're like, wait, why do my shoes feel small all of a sudden? It's like because like somebody had the same shoes as you, but you like you're size 5 and they're like a size 3, and you're like, you don't realize it until you walk out. Like, that shit is so real, you know? Also, just the taking off the shoes. Like, when I was a kid, I used to have like nightmares about accidentally walking in with my shoes on, like a whole thing, you know? Even the women's section, like it's sort of like a thing, like a well-known thing, that the women's section aren't given as much love as the men's section are. So that's very common. So in those ways, it's super fun. Also, the Illuminantes thing is hilarious. Like that scene where they have the clicks everywhere. It was so good.
Let's get right to that, because again, I was going to bring that up because the first exposure to the aunties, again, from the film I checked out last year, Indian Sweet and Spice. It was a fantastic film, folks. Check that out. There was sort of a running joke with the aunties, and then you start to get the display of it, and then when you start to kind of get immersed into that dynamic between it, you know, everybody got the tea, everybody talking about everybody. It's like a centralized TMZ of women that come together and have all of the scoops for everything, you know, infidelities or whoever, money, or all this other stuff. Like you get it all right there. Well, I need the internet when you can just go holler at the aunties.
Go to the aunties.
Could you talk about those the different divisions and any of those any other tidbits or jokes you may be able to add to them?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it was so accurate, you know, like even the young boy, like just like taking photos and the different cliques of it. You know, you got your pious brothers who are like super into it, and then, you know, like a little bit of everything. And also the uncles really resonated too, you know, like the Rashid uncle or whatever, the one who's running. You know, you got Mr. Popular in the mosque for sure. so in those ways, and I was just like, wow, this is such an homage to just the whole Mean Girls breakdown. Like right here, you got these people and you got these people. So I was laughing out loud in those moments too.
And the only reason I know this is because of the comments, but I had started to question it for a second. But is it common to have nicknames for your mom and dad outside of just calling them mom and dad, where we see dad is Abu and then mom is Nani, I believe she was calling her. Is this a common thing?
Yeah, I think those are kind of also just like, Ami and Abu. Those are kind of like, and different people have their own things. I don't call my parents Ami and Abu, but it is very common. Like that's just sort of like the mom and dad thing. Nani being grandma. Yeah. But it also gets real complicated. There's like there's like mom's mom is called something, and then mom's dad is called like daddy, you know? So it's like there's like such appointed names.
Yeah.
But they're all specific and sort of overall uniform.
Yeah. Okay. So in the episode 1, basically, you know, as I mentioned earlier, she's at the cosplay contest. She is a little shy. The cameras are all gleaming over her face, but this is when she taps into the bangle's power and she makes a display. Again, this gets not only the attention of everybody there, this goes viral. This gets the attention of the Department of Damage Control. But going into episode 2, she has a whole new swagger, you know, and this is, you know, it's not to say that she was not confident in the first episode, but it's clearly now that things are coming full circle for her here. You know, she's getting the attention. She is slowly becoming the superhero that she's always destined to be. She got her poses and everything right. And she's just kind of taking it in, looking around school and hearing people chatter about it and whatnot. Bruno being here by her side. Okay, first of all, I just got to just address exactly what's going on here, because I think we all are very much clear. This whole trope that's going to go down. This trope that always goes down. So you have Bruno, who is the traditional nerd. He's an inventor. He loves technology. He's very innovating. He has her at best interest, and it doesn't feel like anything romantic. They're just really good friends, you know.
You think it doesn't feel like anything romantic?
Nah, because they don't. It feels so much like the stories that we see all the time, where he's just like, you know, we're cool and whatnot. Even that scene when they were on top of the building, and you kind of think like, okay, is he going to love her now or is he going to love her later? And it's like, okay, not now. So like he's still playing the friend role, friend zone, but we know at some point the shiny new toy in Kamran, who's played by Rish, who I've just seen in something else. Oh, he's also an Indian Sweet and Spices, by the way, too. Yeah. Who is, yes, absolutely. New senior. He has money. He has a Porsche. He's athletically built. He did a 360 off of the Project X party that they had. This dude is going nuts. I'm like, who is this guy? But now she's just googly eyed over him and whatnot. And we already see the interesting dynamic between that triangle that's being built, because we see Bruno in the backseat driving, talking about, yeah, you don't have your license, you can't drive, and he's
very in love with Kamala, right?
Mm-hmm. So that's the whole triangle. Is going to be like the whole new shiny toy that's, you know, has it all. You're drawn about him, you love him, but we all know at some point he's going to reveal himself to be maybe not her best choice. We ain't gonna say evil, but maybe just not her best choice. And we're gonna see Bruno just there the entire time. Like, I was here since day one, baby.
I made your suit. Don't forget me. Straight up. But so I was like, I didn't trust him. Even before the reveal, I was like, it's too convenient. It's too convenient. You know what I mean? Like, he's too interested and it's too easy. So I was like, But the chemistry between the two of them is so great. And like, they are very charming together. Like that restaurant scene, I was also dying of laughter.
When Amir comes in.
So silly. And that, I think that was maybe one of my favorite scenes. The restaurant scene where it's Taisha and Amir comes in.
Yeah, I'm loving Amir. I want more of this kind of the background brother who always got a good punchline or two there. I feel like his scenes are super convenient in terms of just delivery and everything. It just works right now. Very, very well done. And looking forward to more there. But yeah, since you kind of bring up where I wanted to go to in terms of Kamran. Where do you think you're talking about the big reveal towards the end, at the end of episode 2, where he conveniently knows where, first of all, not even just knows where she's at, but knows who she is, an identity that no one knew. He picks her up, saves her with the mom in the backseat. Where do you think that's going?
I'm like, wait, are they cousins? That was my concern. I was like, I hope they're not cousins, because like there's clearly something romantic going on here. That was like my biggest concern. I'm like, no, you fell for your cousin. Truly, that was my biggest concern. After I put that aside, I'm gonna have faith that that's not where it's going, because that would be weird. And I mean, clearly, I mean, it at first I thought he might have been sent by the Department of, Department of,
At this point now, DODD. No, DODC. DODC. Yeah,
DODC.
Department of Damage Control. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, maybe he's a plant. But clearly it's that. But now that they're here, but I also don't fully trust sort of what's happening with the mom and Kamran, because that would also be too easy. Yeah. So there has to be deception in there somewhere. So that's where I think it's going, you know. So we will find out who is evil and who is good and who is, you know, and all that stuff. What do you think?
So yes, you brought up something earlier, and I probably should have chimed in on it earlier, but we'll just do it now. So when we talked about Sana, who's the grandmother, and then the great grandmother, what was it? Aisha.
I think so.
Aisha. Yeah. So we know that this Bengal has connections not only through the history of the family, but obviously through the partition, because as we see the Bengals sort of take her through either a dream state or some type of other reality or whatnot. We saw a bunch of folks the first time. We saw a train another time, so we know there's some connection to it. As somebody who has never heard of the partition, and obviously as you know, I would just say very basic levelly described as how Bangladesh and Pakistan out of India. I think that you're looking through generations. I think when you look at Kamran, I think his mom is going to have another story, which is also not only just going to be another story about how that went about, get more clarification about the great grandmother and how the Bengal had to be involved with it all of some sort. So it's going to be like the connecting the stories together, and obviously Kamran's mom is going to have like another perspective that's just going to. I think it's going to not only affect Kamala's mother, but I think it's may change like their whole, how their perception of their family. So that's going to be something, because she was very adamant to say, listen, great grandmother, don't bring that name has disgraced us.
Yeah.
And that's a very stern statement to make. And I think that we're going to kind of see that change at some point once she figures out more of the story. So that's where I'm at with that.
And on another level, it's like there's so many narratives. I know, particularly like also in the South Asian culture of like, like not believing women not getting heard, women being called crazy, in so many cultures, right? It's like women of color in general, like just not being, if anything differently is considered shamed, and the taboo around conversations like that. So it's doing something really powerful by going back, and maybe they're going to reclaim the history of their grandma, and even more so like the Bengal, like a little bit more on the partition too, is essentially this thing of like the simply put, the British colonized South Asia and messed everything up, and then just dropped out of nowhere and created borders where borders didn't exist. So then it created fractions and created, and people were sort of upheavaled all over, and in that way it was left a mess. So in a way, this Bengal sort of becomes a way to address and sort of fight back colonization as well, right? Because it's like the Bengal was the thing that saved the grandma, and at the same time, this Bengal sort of becomes this representation of like the power that we hold, the power that we can fight back colonization with. So in those ways, I'm like really, really excited where this story is going to go.
Ooh, that's really well said. I want to ask you one other quick question to that. So when the dad mentioned about what happened to her father, he said, "Oh, he just disappeared like everybody else." Is that a comic book reference, or is that some type of historical reference to missing folks from the partition or escaping and whatnot?
Yeah, well, what I can say is that, well, as people, like civil wars happening or people leaving, I mean, a lot of people died along the way, whether it was like, again, people fighting for borders, fighting for land, a lot of lives were lost. And I know families whose lives were lost, just like, yeah, like our brother never came back. So maybe in that sense, I think it was probably just addressing the lives lost. But to my understanding, I mean, there were probably many instances of just like things being wiped out, lives being wiped out. But I don't think it's referring to like a certain phenomenon per se, or like a specific event, if that was the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Two other things I want to hit on really quickly. Also, the dad whispering was just absolutely terrible. Like he tried to make sure he's like, keeping it at the table, but clearly over the whole house.
Oh yeah. That part,
another reference. I said, let me look through my notes, because I knew I had another reference. God, I hope everybody picked up on this one. Did everybody notice what a certain individual in Bruno was wearing when he was talking to his counselor? He was dressed like Mr. Marty McFly.
Oh,
a little Back to the Future reference there with the vest and everything. I thought that was really cool once he had gotten his acceptance to Caltech, because he's like, okay, he's a techie, so I get that. Nice little reference to a classic film. I seen a DeLorean today, so that was pretty cool. Probably telling me something as well too, like so we'll see how that comes about. And then what was the other thing I wanted to so let's talk about Nax now. She made a very powerful statement about, number one, colorism, about, even within her culture, saying like, well, one moment they say I'm too white, one minute they say I'm too ethnic, like, and at this point now, she puts on a hijab because this is when she feels like herself. You said this meant a lot. We're hearing that, and you felt very you felt sort of a what was the word you described? I don't want to misspeak for you, but you said like this was very moving upon hearing her speak about this. Could you give a little bit more context to it?
Yeah, I think so often, particularly in media, the idea of a Muslim woman covering is thought of like, oh, it's not her choice. Like Muslim women are submissive, or they're being oppressed, versus like all the badass Muslim women I know who cover do it because they love it, and that's their connection, and it's their choice, and it is them. It's a powerful thing to do. And so, but we don't get to see that story, or we don't get to see the reason behind that story. So in those ways, it felt so important to hear that.
That's awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Do you like ice cream pizza?
I don't know why. I feel like I know so many little Pakistani boys exactly like that. So I was not ice cream pizza, but just like the little like, the like puniness, and then like, mom, you know what I mean? Like I know that. I know so many of those little kids. Ice cream pizza,
first of all, no pineapple, no ice cream, nothing.
None of that. You're a traditionalist when it comes to pizza.
The most exotic I go is like basil pesto and like ranch. That's as far as I go on mine. Like anything else, it's like no, that's okay. I don't want that. I'll eat them divide, but never together.
That's true. I'm like olives only, like olives all day, every day.
Yeah, I can even get with that. Yeah, I just. I'm not sitting out here trying to do some crazy new mixes. That's not me. So I think the last thing I want to mention one thing is that, so far for 2 episodes, I'm absolutely intrigued. This has been fun. There are moments where you kind of gotta in terms of your disbelief, you just gotta suspend it for a little bit and just let it go. It's gotta do what it's going to do. It's fun, it's family friendly. And even with the moments of disbelief, it's super manageable. Even the 16-year-old being interrogated by a form of a government agency, as we see. But like other than that, I mean, like I feel like it's so far really good compared to the other Marvel miniseries that we've gotten recently. And overall, just as a series, I think this is definitely something that whether you are a Marvel fan or not, I think somebody will find something in this that they will connect to and appreciate. And it could be something just as simple as the mother-daughter relationship. The mother who is overly in love with her daughter, overly I'll say proud of her, even with her, you know, going to the cosplay contest, and obviously that would have probably got me grounded for a while, but she was like, you know what, you can still go to the next part. Like, I was like, wow, like that just shows you just the connection that they have. And even when she says she doesn't trust her, you know, it's all in love, because she obviously still let her go to the party and trusted her. And I just think, like, it's just moments like that where you just like, you know, this series has a lot of heart. So, you know, I really appreciate that, and it's done well. It's definitely done well. What would you overall, you know, now that we talked about it, now that we've seen it, so we let it digest a little bit, overall your thoughts now?
I think my final thoughts are that it truly is an experience, and it's like you can tell the amount of thought and love and intention that was put behind it. And it's not necessarily like, it's not like your gritty, edgy Marvel at all. You know what I mean? It's your Miss Marvel that is sort of, it is that family friendly vibe, but there's also a beauty to it. And I'm excited. I think overall, right, if I was being critical, I'd be like, okay, I want to see more of the character arc. I want to see more of like the basis of her feeling like she is a weirdo and outcast, and how that grows, and how the character development of like basically struggling with pleasing her parents, but also holding on to this weight of being a superhero, which we do see in the, I mean, that's also the heart of the comic book, right? So I'm excited to see more of that in a grounded way in the series, and I look forward to hopefully seeing more of that in the next 4 episodes, because that's a big part of it. And as for the powers aspect, I know that she's not like embiggening or shrinking. Shrinking, that's a new thing.
I'll use it.
Yeah, but I also get, I don't know, I vibe with the Bangle decision and the way her powers are showing themselves, because I don't remember where I read this, but I remember someone made the point of like, it could be that like to embiggen and to shrink could be a weird thing on screen, you know, and there's a world where there's more visual payback with it being what it is, you know, and you kind of, I feel like there were certain moments where we see things get bigger, like with the fist, or we still see her like, we see certain things happening because of the powers, you know, things get bigger, things get smaller in a sense. So in those ways, I feel like it's a creative take on making this power tangible. So in those ways, I'm so for it. I'm excited to see more. The cast is brilliant. The storyline clearly has a lot of love to it. There's a little bit of like, I don't know why, I had a little bit of Lizzie McGuire nostalgia. Like,
yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
It was like the way Iman acts and this Miss Marvel character, like you see a little bit of Lizzie McGuire.
The bedroom scenes, the hallway, the school hallway thing. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I think there's a lot of those different types of scenes throughout this, and that's good. That's good.
Yeah, so fun. So I'm so excited. I think it's a job well done. Shout out to anyone who has, I think, like this, what I like to call like anxiety representation around it. Like, that's valid. We don't get a lot of stories about us that are also for us or made by us. But I think at the end of the day, it's also strongly about supporting these stories, though, because if we don't support them, we don't get more. So that's sort of where my mind's at. But even more than just supporting it to support it, it's truly something never been done and smart and fun. So I'm excited.
That's awesome. Also, because I know you have a comment next to you, might as well give that some screen time.
The what? Oh, the
comment.
With this guy right here.
I
have my others too. I have my others in the series. Yeah. I remember I read this, I cried the first time I read it. Like, it's something. We're making history here, folks.
Yeah. I just want to, you know, I definitely want to make sure that I make this extremely clear that Iman is really, really on her. Let me see if I can actually look up if this is her first role, because I just want to give her love, and you know, folks should bask in her greatness right now, because for if this coming in with 2 credits on her IMDb, one being Miss Marvel, the second being the Marvels. Wow. Talk about coming up the bat, your first
way, right? That's decent.
First time up the bat and hitting the home run, you know.
And I I remember the casting process too, because it was like a huge casting search for literally nationwide casting search for a teenager, and that was also hard finding somebody who looked young enough. I think that was part of the toughness of it, but they found exactly the right person.
Yeah. Iman has a beautiful smile. She has radiating energy.
Yeah.
No pun intended. Bengal aside, she has she has radiating energy, and she's a star, and I could imagine her being extremely nervous in such a big role for the character, the big role for the culture, the big role for the start of her career, and just coming in here embodying it like so good, and then coming back July 2023 in the Captain Marvel sequel, which is already in the works with a director, Nia DaCosta. So, just a huge shout out for her carrying this character and bringing Kamala to life. And, if there's anything I'm going to take from it, listen, I can't wait to see what she does next episode, because she's killing it right now. And this is overall just a good series. So I'm happy that I enjoyed it, and that I enjoyed it for the reasons I did. You enjoyed it, reinforced the reasons that I did. So overall, I feel very safe in being able to watch this, and in terms of it being properly handled, proper representation, and authentic, and all parties aside, from the cast, the music, the aesthetics, all of it. I think, they did a good job for it. So I know you did give a final thought, but I just want to make sure if there's anything else before I close this out.
No, this was just so it was such a fun process reviewing it back with you, because I feel like you were telling me comic book things that I didn't know, so it's just what a lovely time. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, and everybody, all folks in the world, absolutely give my friend Kausar a follow. As you can see her handle right under her name right there. As I said, actress, comedian, writer, activist, she does it all. Some things are coming down the pipeline. If I may know a little something, but I can't talk about anything. But you can keep an eye on her social medias on all projects to come. She's all over the place, and she's an absolutely bright spirit herself. And again, there was no way I was doing this review without her. So I'm thankful that you had time to be able to do this with us, and really shed some light on this one. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, folks, let us know in the comments your thought about the first 2 episodes of Ms. Marvel premiering Disney Plus June 8th. Let us know your thoughts, the things you liked, the things you didn't like, the things you may even have questions about. We'll make sure we'll get those answered for you. But until the next time, folks, y'all stay safe, much love, and we'll see you then.